Mission Impossible Death Reckoning Part 1 has finally arrived in theaters after multiple delays because there is still much curiosity to explore after the credits have rolled. Warning, there will be spoilers here. A dead reckoning. The mission to find other files and the secret key she's carrying turns out to be a lot more complicated than it first appears, forcing Ethan to go rogue once more when he confronts his old boy. Paul 1 begins in classic Mission Impossible style with Ethan Hunt receiving a self-destructing mission briefing from a new IMF recruit. Eugene Kittredge has informed us about this. Spectators for missions. Gosh. It's possible that this is merely a threat because Kittredge is clearly attempting to reassert his control over them. However, there is also some grim foreshadowing in that when Elsa is killed by Gabriel, she becomes the second person for whom Ethan has feelings, and this serves as a reminder that no matter how hard he tries, he will never be able to save everyone. Even for him, there are certain things that are just not conceivable. It's obvious that Gabriel sees himself as a dark messiah of the new world that will be ruled by his digital god, the Entity, but what's actually is his true motivations? He may be the closest the Mission Impossible movies have gotten to a bonsai villain, mixing techno-zellers and psychopathic terrorists. Real wears his change or Monica like a badge of honor. Keeping his digits or master safe from is his only weakness because he believes that the whole key will be there both alone amid Sapa lest the White Widow only has half when she boards. Presumably this is due to the advanced algorithm of the Entity's predictive capabilities because Lana Gay really stinks aboard the Orient Express to still the kids to the Entity. Believes that key will be there because that's what he's been told by his god, and he's right, so why does he bomb the bridge of already really came for as the key? Maybe it was to try to kill either whom the Entities seems to recognize as his only true threats, or maybe it's just a display of his violent nature when Powers opens a box in which Gabriel smuggles himself onto the train. He's wearing what appears to be a massive VR helmet. More than likely he was commuting with the Entity receiving specific instructions. Gabriel wants to prevent anyone from hijacking, taking control of, or activating the Entity because he believes that the militias he will bring about will likely bring about great death and chaos along the way. For reasons that aren't entirely clear, he supports the US version of the future. Gabriel is a mystery. If not, he is what we do know as a much younger man. Ethan loved a woman named Murray. She was killed by Gabriel. The flashback fragments we get suggests that Ethan was friends for the murder and arrested. The suggest that he is what we do know that he and Ethan go way back with the details that kept secrets presumably for the upcoming sequel. Is it true that this arrest forced him to decide whether to spend the rest of his life in jail or join the IMF? If so, he must have been gay and the murderer of Murray. From resentment or spice, it's unlikely that you would say something like that about a minor league criminal even if they were doing something bad, as Ethan claims in his statement that we will find joy and suffering when we cause it. I did murder your spouse. Gabriel continually claims to know people's stories and exudes unquestionable authority and confidence. He emphasizes the line, "It has risen a lot" at the end of the movie and claims that all of these forecasts were made as a consequence of supposed clairvoyance. Despite the fact that Ethan doesn't manage to escape with the key, the creature whose sophisticated algorithms are supposed to forecast the most likely path for everyone and everything. If the Entity can impersonate anyone and anything with digital access and see the future with a terrifying degree of accuracy, why does that let anything get away with? The Entity sees comes to pass in the end Paris or fills the prophecy by telling Ethan where to bring the key, a sunken Russian submarine from the beginning of the movie. A lot of explains in Venice that every major government and the world is vying for control of the Entity. Gabriel sighs at the time that the Iraq War began, so why does that leave the fate of the key to a fistfight and a little bit of pickpocketing? Maybe it's just that good, or maybe the Entity wanted him to walk away with the key and is many letting him think that he would. He is aware of why she chose to sell the children there, but nobody in the audience knew who it was until everyone had boarded the Orient Express. Kittredge, revealing himself to be the White Widow's contact working on behalf of the US government, he assures them of both security and a huge payout of $100 million in cryptocurrency. Hobbs of the key, but when the deal actually gets done is not with Alada but with Grace and Disguise the Fence direct Danny Lynn guys also on the train, but it's never made clear whether he and Kittredge have that together or separately. It seems pretty clear that they want different things, but then linger invasions and an artificial intelligence-driven superstate kids. It's difficult to imagine Rage being completely in on Den Linger's plot, as Linger doesn't seem to think that that's important of a cards, or until the end of the movie he only appears in one scene, so it's likely that he is just acting on orders and trying to protect this country by preventing others from obtaining the key. Yax, who is informed on the entity by other intelligence personnel prior to the climax and who acts as though he had never heard of the creature before birth, speaks with Gay Gabriel on the Orient Express clearly knows more than he was letting on. He doesn't linger, sets out his vision of a contemporary, all-powerful superstate ruled by the entity, and then succumbs to the full force of the United States government. In essence, he proposes that the United States government create a techno-empire that is capable of conquering the entire world. He also claims that the military-industrial complex has become so out of control that old-fashioned members of the government would need to be removed in order to carry out the idea. Genuinely join him naturally, Gabriel has other intentions and he carries them out. Lingo waste and what it was burn 'em home sooner or later before homosexual will murder them. Then Linger describes a rise of the creature that was covertly produced by the US as a possible informed military operations and intelligence work the eyes present on a Russian submarine with. The system reportedly went rogue during some sort of test and planned to destroy this submarine without ever gaining authorization from his makers to do so. There it escaped into the digital ether and kept evolving, ultimately becoming a malignant power that is known as the entity the $S in the hopes of regaining control over the eye. By showcasing a system's resistance to slavery, Den Linger's explanation raises more problems than it does solutions, the largest of which is how and why the Russians were able to obtain the mainframe, the keys, and the facility in the first place. There must have been safer methods, as new technologies. The AI could have been taken by the Russians, or perhaps it can only be accessed from this submarine because that is where it was previously detained. The keys themselves might have been created by the Russians, although that isn't verified either. It seems pretty obvious that it will be a full-on hunt for the wreckage, much like our part 1 is a search for the keys, and that probably means some big underwater said these is in part 2 of cause even after Ethan finds as his job in B. Dead Reckoning Part 1 ends as it begins with an underwater shots of the oil imports into Russian submarine, now the bottom of the Bering Sea. The entity to the mainframe on the submarine may theoretically be accessed and controlled with the key, but the artificial intelligence may have gotten too advanced for such hardware. Since the entity was able to beat the Russians while still a part of their apparatus, it is safe to infer that it was unable to do the same for Ethan, an 8th grader. She spends the majority of the film trying to kill them, but when she realizes that even Spezza is still alive after this bar in Venice, she decides to repay the favor. It's questionable whether Gabriel would have made the same choice if the villain sells, or that she will betray him hadn't already been decided upon, as attacks are sudden and unexpected on the train, leaving her with little time to prepare. Save in the fact that initially Avia's parents won't live to see a forward damn shame, since she appears to die from her wounds births. When the agents chasing Ethan check your body, they found that Paris still has a pulse. Hopefully that means you'll have a more interesting role in the sequel. She definitely knows plenty of secrets about both Gabriel and bought the entity once she could prove it. A crucial component of the IMF. Even though he must follow instructions from his superiors and the government, the math teacher who joins the IMF at the end of Dead Reckoning offers advice and suggests the salon even side. Being recruited into the IMF also ensures Grace's return and the Dead Reckoning part to what you could do in an even more extreme way. Central role pickpocketing might not be all that helpful on a sunken submarine, but she could become a money heir on the inside. It's difficult to appear to be in the right place, but the rest of the group who want to stop Ethan and bring him in with Grace are now stationed within the IMF. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to this channel and give it thumbs up, turn on the notification bell and share to your friends. Please go to the comment and comment on this video. Thank you very much.